I've experienced every possible adversity you think. In medical school, I'm talking imposter syndrome, depression, traumatic experiences, death, uncertainty of finances, doubt, anxiety, not feeling like you can get through it. I'm grateful to say that I am now entering my second year of medical school, and shoots, I even went through a pandemic in my first year of medical school. Hi there, welcome back to Beauty Medic TV, where you will experience all things medicine, makeup, and motivation. My name is Samika Williams. I am a second year medical school student as well as a freelance makeup artist, and this channel just documents my journey through medicine as well as makeup, hence the name Beauty Medic TV. So if you're new here, welcome. In today's episode, I will be talking about the time I almost dropped out of medical school. Yes, I almost dropped out of medical school, and this was shortly after I went to school. I almost dropped out of medical school. And I know in my last video I talked about how I knew medicine was for me, and this video is like a whole contradiction to it because I'll be talking about how I almost dropped out of medical school. But trust me, it was a rough one, but I am grateful to be here, and I'm grateful to be entering my second year of medical school. Please, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Also give this video a like and leave a comment below. I will really appreciate it. So I left for university, medical school. I left medical school last year, August. I left the week of the 21st just to catch the orientation period because I didn't know what to expect. This wasn't my first time going to university, but I didn't know much about the country or the campus, as a matter of fact, to just go the week school started and try and navigate my way. So when I got to school, initially I felt so many different emotions. I was so excited. I was so eager to be there because I was living my dream. I was like, oh my god, I talked about being here. I can't believe I'm actually here. That was very short-lived. September 1st, I can remember this very vividly. A category 5 hurricane struck the country that I am from, which is the Bahamas, and it devastated two islands, Abaco and Grand Bahama. I was born and raised in Grand Bahama. There is nothing more I know than Grand Bahama. That's not something that I would like to go into details because the emotions surrounding it is still very much present, and it's still a hard topic to talk about because it's very much traumatizing, not just for myself, but I feel like almost any Bahamian that know or have family and friends living on both islands. The first day of classes for me was the day the hurricane was in Grand Bahama and it was stationary. I've already seen the devastation it did to Abaco. I've already seen the impact it had and it was having on Grand Bahama. I'm talking families going missing, people dying, families and friends being stuck in their houses. So I was already so emotional about the situation because I had friends and family that were pleading for help, being stuck in their roofers. Yeah, I needed that laugh. Some of them went on to end days without food and water, and it just left the country devastated. If you are going to university abroad and you speak, it's second nature for whoever you're speaking to pick up on your accent and for them to ask you where you're from. So immediately from I went to school and I started talking, people was asking me where I'm from, and I had to say I'm from the Bahamas, and they went on to ask, is your family okay? Is your friends okay? Whatever. And at that point in time, the people that I was in contact with, my family and friends, they were pleading for help. They were stuck in their roof, didn't have no food, didn't have no water rising, and the storm was stationary at that time. I just, every time someone asked me, I was forced to think about the fact that all of this is happening and I'm here. The whole devastation of Hurricane Dorian, it seemed to last forever. I can recall that those 2 weeks so vividly. My first 2 weeks of medical school, I can recall it so vividly, and it was such a traumatic experience for me. Even though I had a second-hand experience, it was a very traumatic and emotional experience for me because, one, I'm very afraid of hurricanes. Anybody knows me knows this. I'm very afraid of hurricanes, and this wasn't before Dorian. This wasn't because of Dorian. This was before Dorian. And I am so afraid of hurricanes that every hurricane that struck the Bahamas, when I was in university, I was living on a different island. I had to travel home to be with my family, and it wasn't no going around it. So that was the first time I was ever away from my family. So, and it was just the uncertainty of if they were okay, and knowing the damages that Dorian was doing, it was just put me in such a, for lack of a better word, a depressed state. It was just a hard time. I am super grateful that despite the destruction and despite the amount of lives lost, I am grateful that we still have a lot to give God thanks for, but that Dorian is a name that puts Grand Bahamians and Abaconians on alert. That is just a trigger point for almost every Grand Bahamian and almost every Abaconian. It is nearly impossible to talk about it without becoming filled with so much emotions, and especially when you personally know people that are only existing by the skin of their teeth. They lost everything, family, friends, and I'm talking places where you grow up don't exist no more. Everything you knew and love is practically no longer. I don't want to sit here and sugarcoat and say that I did not experience depression at that time, because I am very aware of what depression is and what anxiety was, and that whole experience for me was the first time I experienced it, like I said, and I didn't have the support system that I'm used to, because my family is my support system. They support me in everything I do, and I felt as though they needed me to be strong for them when I always needed them to be strong for me. The first 2 weeks of school, when I was in that space, I couldn't even go to school. I couldn't be around people. I didn't go to school at all. I stayed home for 2 weeks. I stayed in my room for 2 weeks. If I heard people in the kitchen, I would not go in the kitchen. And I didn't know anybody at that time at the school to even say, well, I have this type of comfort in this person to be able to, I find comfort in this person for me to be able to confide in them. I am very aware of what depression is, and I'm very aware of the characteristics to identify a depressed state, and I can't say that I was depressed. I was just worried about if my family and friends had, if they, one, make it, two, if they had basic necessities, food, clothing, water, and shelter, and then three, I'm not even sure if I can afford to be in this school anymore. So I feel like the thing about depression, and what people don't like to acknowledge, is that it is real, and when you have people surrounding you that don't understand what you're going through or understand your feelings towards whatever it is, it's easy for them to say, well, you could get over it. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it. You should do this or you shouldn't do this. It's not that easy, and I had to allow myself to grieve. I had to allow myself to get angry. I had to allow myself to go through every emotion and feel every emotion there was, because if I didn't go through those stages of emotions, I can honestly say that I would have packed my bags and left. During those 2 weeks, like, I had to, you know, deal with my emotions and deal with the fact that I missed 2 weeks of school. I'm 2 weeks behind in medical school. And if you know the workload of medical school, you know that 2 weeks, being 2 weeks behind in medical school and not even knowing what is going on in classes is like a recipe for disaster. It's like a recipe for disaster. During the whole Dorian situation, I just feel as though I didn't have anybody to understand what I was going through. And the people that I knew for a fact, meaning my sister and my mom, that would have been able to, you know, encourage me and uplift me, they were battling their own thing. So I didn't want to put it on them. Let me tell y'all, survivor's guilt is real. I felt guilty, so guilty, super guilty, for just being able to have running water, a roof over my head, food on my table, when I know thousands didn't have that. I refused to ask my parents for money. I was running low on groceries. Like, I only had about 7 bottles of water in my room, if that. And I usually go through 7 bottles of water in 2 days, and that's all I had. I refused to ask my parents for money. I refused to let anyone knew that I didn't have anything, because I felt as though what I had in that moment was more than thousands had, so I should have been grateful. And I just couldn't see myself past the guilt. I couldn't see myself past the sadness. I couldn't see myself past the fact that I would have been living my dream and living my worst nightmare at the same time. Like, I couldn't see past what I was going through. After the 3rd week, I had to put myself together, because I had to realize that nobody is going to do this for me. I still feel like nobody understood what I was going through at that time. So anybody that I spoken to, whoever it was, I felt as though they were being quote unquote inconsiderate, because they were telling me how to feel and what to do and how I should feel or how I should react when they weren't experiencing it. I ended up shutting myself out from anybody. Tedious, and it became a task just to even open my mouth up to speak, and that is depression. I didn't want to get up out of bed. I didn't want to eat. I couldn't sleep. I didn't want to talk to anybody. The only people that I talked to was my family, my friends, just to make sure they were okay, just to make sure they weren't eating. And I just eventually came to a place that I couldn't do this. I don't want to feel this anymore. I want to be surrounded by my family, and if I have to choose between my family and my dreams, I would choose my family. At the end of those 2 weeks, I opened up my closet and I pulled up my suitcase, and I was taking things out of my closet, because I was going home. While I was taking the stuff out of my closet, I had to face reality. So while I was just yucking things out of my closet and planning how I'm going to use my credit card to get my ticket to go home, and my mommy just gonna have to be mad when I reach, because I need to come home and I can't take this anymore. And as I was doing that, I had a reality check. I had a reality check. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was God. I don't know what it was, but it was definitely a reality check. And that reality check was, so many sacrifices were made for you to be here. And the fact that you're here, you rather throw in the towel instead of trying to find a way. Why is giving up your first resort when you didn't even try in the first place? That was my reality check that I got. Why are you so quick to give up? You didn't even try. You didn't even see if you can push beyond this. You cried and you make noise about wanting to pursue your dream, but the first adversity you face, you just want to give up, you just want to pack your bags and don't look back. And it was like, wow, this is really a test to see if this dream that I said I wanted so long, this is really a test to see if this dream that I said I wanted all my life is, am I really willing to work for that? When I had that reality check, maybe that was God. I don't know, maybe it was another test of faith. Maybe, I don't know. But I gave you your dream. I gave you opportunities to pursue your dream. Now let me see what are you gonna do with the tools that I give you. After those 2 weeks, I don't want to say things started looking up for me, but I started to see provisions being made in terms of seeing that, hey, maybe I could afford to be here. Hey, maybe I could do this even if I cry every day when I go home. I can put on a poker face to get through the days. So I went to school in the middle of the 3rd week. I started going to classes. I started catching up, but I still was not speaking to anybody. If I didn't have to speak to you, I didn't. If I didn't have to be in the kitchen when anybody was in my kitchen, I didn't. It was, and then after I decided that I'm gonna stay and I'm gonna thug things out, it was just wake up in the morning, go to school, wake up in the morning, cry, go to school, come home, do my work, cry myself to sleep. And it was that same routine for the whole of September. I was experiencing depression, and even though I decided that I was going to stick through it, there was still something in the back of, that was still a hunch, for lack of a better word, that I don't know if I can do this. And that was just doubt and fear creeping in. I feel like doubt and fear always find a way inside potential to make you question it. And I had to find a way out of it because I was tired of feeling that way. I was tired of crying every day. I was tired of, feeling guilty. I was tired of feeling sad. I was tired of crying every single day. Like, I was tired of having to hide from people, or tired of having to hide in a shell, or whatever it was. Whatever it was, I was tired. Your girl was tired. So, that the next day I was going to school, and that was the day I decided that I can't do this anymore. Something have to give. I don't know what it is, but something have to give. And while I was on my way to school, I started to feel the tears falling again. As soon as I reached to a bus stop to cross the road, there was this car, there was a taxi man speaking to someone, and it was a white taxi. I can remember this clear as day. And I just hear this voice that says, I will never take you to something that I can't see you through. And from that day on, I had so much comfort. Like, after that day, I never used to cry every day, but I used to cry every now and then. So this was entering the beginning of October. So that was already a month gone from school. I was still behind in my schoolwork, and I had to set goals for myself. I was like, you know what? I need to set some goals, and I need to be finished and caught up with everything before the semester ends, so I could have ample time to study for these examinations. Even if I have to cry while doing it, I have to do it. Whatever it is, I have to do it because I'm already here, and I need to make my parents feel proud. I need to make sure they feel like their sacrifice wasn't in vain. I have to remember my why I started, why I stayed, and why am I continuing to pursue it. During those times, I'm super grateful that I had that I gained friends. I gained a study group, and I am super grateful that I had my best friend, my boyfriend, and as well as my mad sibling. She is also my friend, and they were my accountability partners. They always made sure that I was okay. If I didn't go to school today, if I didn't go to school, they asked me what happened, am I okay, if I need anything. Every time my friend went to the shop, she would ask me if I need anything. If she was going out, she always invited me out. She always made sure I was up to date with my studies. If I needed any help, she was there to help, and I am super, 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 super grateful for that. After that month, it was now October, and that was basically the story about how I almost dropped out of medical school. But let me tell you, the adversities didn't stop there. I definitely went on to experience more adversities. Dorian was very traumatic, and it's still traumatic, and it's still very sad, and it's still very hard to talk about. But that wasn't the tip of the iceberg. I just feel as though I thought nothing else could have gone wrong in the semester. I felt as though I already experienced every emotion possible um, that I could possibly face. I felt as though I already experienced every adversity, but like I said, that was just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, that wasn't the tip of the iceberg. So I had a very close friend of mine passed on October 31st, and that person was someone that was always there. It wasn't no point in time that they wasn't there. They were always present. So just not having them around and just dealing with death on the whole was just so hard to deal with for me. And I just went back in. I feel like I started to fall back in that state of depression again, where I just was like, God, why me? This is supposed to be one of the happiest times of my life, because I'm actively pursuing my dream, and it's like every single thing just isn't going right for me, and I don't understand it. Dorian and whatever effects it had on me very much came alive. I feel like it was amplified at that point. Like I thought that I felt better. I really thought I did feel better. I'm not gonna even lie. I really thought that I felt better. I thought that I was doing better, but and it was just so hard. I fell back into a place where I was crying every day again. Crying every day, all day. Didn't want to go to school. Didn't want to come on my bed. Didn't want to speak to anybody. Didn't want to be reminded of anyone or anything. It was just so hard. And his death just flipped the cup over for me, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't constantly feel as though nothing is working in my favor. I do not like this feeling. I'm so tired of crying every day. I feel like I just should maybe start next year. Even though I'm already close to finishing this semester, maybe I should just start next year. The thing about that is I just had 1 second of doubt. When I was going through Dorian, I was experiencing doubt and fear every day. Doubt, fear, and anxiety every day. But after his death, I experienced 1 ounce of doubt. And it was like, I just was having flashbacks of how him and I talked about me being here, and how I was just working so hard to be here, and I am just wanting to give it up. I am not sharing any of my stories for sympathy, for anyone to feel sorry for me. I am just sharing these experiences simply because I know what it feels like to feel like you can't see a way out. And it doesn't even have to be overcoming adversities in college and university. It's in life in general, because we will experience hardships, we will experience adversities. But specifically for my university students, I want to say that it's easier to give up than to push through. The easier option is always to give up. But every time you give up, you take yourself further and further away from the finish line. And every stride you have been making towards reaching to the finish line now becomes obsolete, because you put yourself many steps back, many steps further. And some things understandably are beyond our control, and sometimes we have to take a break. I notice I said have to take a break and not give up, and that's okay. I know we like to use the scripture in the weapons form against us will prosper, but that scripture never said that no weapons will form. They just said that they wouldn't prosper. And that could go with adversity too. Adversities will come, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't get through it or you will not get through it. There's nothing in life that you can't get through. Even if you can't see it at that time, there's nothing in life that you can't get through. When we're in uncomfortable situations, it's just not for us to feel uncomfortable, but we're placed in uncomfortable situations for us to grow. And if we're always in a place for comfort, we will never see the need to grow. So use whatever place you're at, whether it is a place of depression, anxiety, fear. I know it is easy to say. I know it is easy to say, and I understand that it's easier said than done. But see it as a growing point, and see that whenever you come out of this situation, whatever it is you're going through, that you will be stronger, you will be wise, and you will be more equipped to handle whatever it is that you're handling. I just want to end with acknowledge where you are. Be honest with yourself and do not resort to giving up. Find ways to work around it, to go under it, or to go above it. But whatever it is, try to get through it. And always put God first and whatever it is, because He will always direct your path when you do that. But that is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope whatever I said has been encouraging to you, has been a help to you. Thank you guys for watching, and I want to remind you, if you haven't already, to please subscribe to my channel. I will really appreciate it. Please give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment below. Thank you guys for watching, and I can't wait to see you guys in my next video.